1240news.com. The show will be archived on RowellAuctions.com, as they are the host of this program. Additionally, this show will be posted on YouTube.com. We're going to be talking about real estate auctions, past auctions, upcoming auctions, different real estate markets across the country. We've got a lot of topics today. Today is pretty exciting for me. We're going to do an open format. Our telephone number is 904-797-1919. Again, open format, 904-797-1919. Like to hear your calls. We're going to also go back a week, because last week, something that's very dear to me, near and dear to me, again, as an American taxpayer and very interested in real estate and the government, H.R. 1734 has passed in the House. And H.R. 1734 is a bill sponsored by Congressman Denham. Congressman Denham from California sponsored this bill to make it more efficient. We have many properties that are being underutilized or not used at all by the federal government. When government property is not being used, number one, it hurts the area. Number two, it costs a lot of money to maintain it and secure it. And all of that money, it costs taxpayers money. It costs us money every day that those properties are not being used. In fact, I want to go back to a story that I've used probably this entire year. It's about a post office in Washington, D.C. And there was an article, and let me find it here. It was an article that says that one property, this is in the article, one property already drawing attention is the old post office annex in Washington, D.C. The facility loses $6 million a year, yet it hasn't been used in 10 years. Congressman Denham says Donald Trump and the Waldorf Astoria have expressed interest in buying the annex to use as a commercial venue that creates jobs and actually makes money for the taxpayers. Again, in this article, it says the White House Office of Management and Budget estimates the savings from selling all of these vacant buildings would be $15 billion within 3 years. And so I have to go back in my area of expertise, which is government auctions. I've done probably 7,000 or 8,000 government properties, real estate properties, again, by auction. FDIC, RTC, United States Marshals Service, GSA, and when I say GSA, that's General Service Administration. RTC is the Resolution Trust Corporation. FDIC is the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. United States Marshal Service, obviously. And it was about a year ago when President Obama had his State of the Union address and brought up that there was a need to help balance the budget and sell unused surplus government properties. And he followed up on that with his State of the Budget remarks in Baltimore, Maryland. I believe it was February 13th, February 14th. And, quote, in his speech, he says, to take, this is President Obama now, to take just an example, by getting rid of 14,000 office buildings, lots, and government-owned properties we no longer need, we can save the taxpayer billions of dollars. And so my interest in that was, my gosh, what's happening? Let me go up to Washington. And I went up with my boss, the CEO of Rowell Auctions, Tommy Rowell. And we went to congressmen, we went to senators, we went to the General Service Administration, we went to the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. We basically wanted to find out what was happening. And in that, on those trips, and I made a couple of trips, learned that there was a bill being sponsored by Congressman Denham, which was H.R. 1734. And he got participation from both sides of the aisle as sponsors. I think he had like 40 different co-sponsors from Democrats and Republicans. And he did a good job in trying to get the country to and the government to say, you know, we need to make sure we sell these properties that we are not using, and we work on these underutilized properties. And I'm looking at an email. Congressman Denham does a weekly update, and I subscribe to it, and this is on last Friday. And it says, "Dear friend, it's been a successful week here in Washington, D.C. for taxpayers and job creation. On Tuesday, my bill, the Civilian Property Realignment Act, which is CPRA, H.R. 1734, passed in the House of Representatives by a vote of 259 to 164. He goes on to say, our nation is over 15 trillion in debt, and in 2009 alone, the federal government wasted more than $1.7 billion in operating costs for underused buildings. He says CPR will ensure government savings by selling or redeveloping high-value properties, consolidating, maximizing use of federal space, and cutting the bureaucratic red tape." Okay, we've got a call. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning. This is Lonnie Buckner with Estate Brokers.
Well, Lonnie, thank you so much for calling in. Tell us where you're from and what you do, sir.
We're from Sarasota, Florida. We have been in the real estate and auction business for some 20 years and live and work over in the southwest part of Florida, anywhere from Naples all the way up to Bradenton.
Very good. You and I work together. We've been talking about government auctions, talking about the H.R. 1734 bill that just passed in the House, which is trying to sell federal surplus properties. You and I worked on a deal which was the largest auction that I've ever done, and it took a great deal of time and effort and initiative on your part. Tell us about that deal, if you would.
That, from what I understand, was actually the largest online auction that's ever been held anywhere. It encompassed some escheated lots for Sarasota County. I think there were 21 to 2,200 of them. The auction grand total was in excess of $65 million. It took, just the auction itself, took over three days to get it culminated, and obviously there was a great deal of work that went into. We had competing bids from I think 17 or 18 other companies throughout the country that were trying to get this contract, and through your assistance as well, and having local people, the county commission awarded the contract to us, and we have gotten many accolades, not only from the real estate business, but from the auction companies as well, as about the accomplishment of that goal.
Well, it was really a thrilling auction, and I remember it as it was going to be 2,100 lots, and these again are in Northport, Florida. It was Sarasota County was the basic contract administrator that we worked with, and we had kind of figured out that we're going to do it online because we wanted to make sure that the neighbors would have a chance to buy the property next to them. And so we we did the internet auctions so that they would have the possibility of buying rather than selling clumps of 50 lots at a time. And we figured that, okay, maybe during the internet auction we'd sell 500 of the 2,000 plus lots, and then the rest we're going to have to group together in lots of 10s and 20s and 100s and 200s, and then we're going to do a ballroom type of sale, a live auction. And to my dismay, we sold all of the lots online. And again, this was, tell me, 2007, 2006? What year was that?
I believe it was 2007.
Okay. Right before many internet auctions were taking place. And I believe you're right. It's the largest amount of lots and properties at one time. And $65 million is a great price. And again, we were very, very lucky with the timing, I will say. We kind of hit it right before the economy went down, but had lots of bidding, and I want to thank you personally for spending probably a year of your life on that particular sale. You and Nancy Buckner, your staff, did just a fantastic job, and I want to thank you for that. Tell us, you and I have an auction coming up, which I'm pretty excited about. Tell us about that.
We have a fantastic opportunity down on Minnesota Key in South Sarasota County. Great property, just extreme quality throughout. Sets on the Intercoastal Waterway, and that auction is coming up quickly. I think it's going to be on the 1st of March.
Well,
and that is a property that's never been lived in. It has just the orientation of the home on the property is just absolutely perfect, where you can. It appears that you're the only one on the entire key, that when you step out on your patio or your veranda upstairs, it appears you're the only one there. You just have expansive views in all directions, and it's just a quality home. Ceramic tile, gourmet kitchen. You can sit in the kitchen and do your preparation. You'll be looking out on the water. It's spacious, has great room for children. You're again close to Sarasota County. You can get access into Interstate 75, so you can go either way for shopping, and it's truly a one-of-a-kind property that's going to come to auction here real quickly.
Well, that's very exciting. I'm looking forward. I saw the property I think a week or 2 weeks ago, and I've seen it in our ads, and we're getting good response. Should be a wonderful opportunity for someone who wants to really have a luxury home that's in a beautiful, beautiful area. How can they contact you, Lonnie, to get more information and all that kind of good stuff?
Our real estate auction, the real estate information number is 941-918-8000. And that rings directly into my office, and that's the easiest number, and it's quite easy to remember as well. It's 918-8000, and area code 941. But I don't know whether Doug mentioned, but this is a 4-bedroom home with 3.5 baths over 5,000 square feet.
5,000 square feet. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it does have kind of an up-and-down master suites as well. But it's just a one-of-a-kind property that is going to make some potential homeowners a fantastic home for themselves.
Well, very, very good. Hey, Lonnie, thank you so much for calling in. I look forward to coming down there soon and working with you, having the opportunity to work with you, Nancy, and the staff there to have a successful sale for
We're
this.
looking forward to that as well, too. And Doug, and thank you again.
Okay, you take care.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, that was Lonnie Buckner from Estate Brokers of Florida. They are assisting me in a luxury home auction in Sarasota, Florida. All that information you can also go to RowellAuctions.com and all the information is there. That's RowellAuctions.com. I want to go back again on the need to sell government surplus properties from Lonnie Buckner when we sold 2,000 properties online. One of the keys is quickness, and the sooner that you can sell before the rest of the market starts to sell, you're going to get more participation from the buying public, from investors. And if the market is going to go down, then you're also, as a seller, want to sell now before auto inventory rears its ugly head. So very interesting stuff. I'm going to go up again to Washington, D.C. There is a new bill on the Senate side that is being well, it's a discussion draft, and this is by Senator Carper. And again, you need to get the House to do a bill, and then the Senate needs to approve it or put their tweaks in it or their suggestions. And I know this is a game of politics. With an election coming up, but this is something that is needed by the country. You need to sell properties that are not being used. My interest is, I believe auctions are the way to go. It is the fairest, most transparent way to sell properties. Now, when I talk about these 14,000 surplus properties, and there's figures of up to 45,000 properties being underutilized, but let's just go with 14,000. These properties are costing us a great deal of money. Upkeep, the insurance, the security. I remember doing a sale in Michigan for the state of Michigan. It was a state psychiatric hospital, and we're just going in small numbers. It's one property. We sold it for $31 million. It's still the largest auction sale in the state of Michigan. I was the auction project manager and was thrilled to be working on that. So we sold it for $31 million. However, that was obviously good for the budget for the state of Michigan, which it was badly needed at the time, probably still is. But also, they were paying $500,000 a year for upkeep on that property that had not been used for 5 or 6 years. Do you get the gist here that this is costing us as taxpayers a great deal of money? You're listening to the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. I'm your host, Doug Dennison. We're talking about this auction possibilities for government surplus properties. H.R. 1734 just passed in the House. This was sponsored by Congressman Denham. We're hoping that it gets to the Senate because some bills never reach the Senate. And so I'm hoping that, our government leaders don't play politics on this one, that they come to terms where they need to negotiate, between what the Senate wants compared to what the House wants. I'm fine with that. If it's up to me, I'm hoping that by selling these 14,000 properties, we get the private sector involved. We don't need the government to be any bigger. the private sector, which is real estate brokers, auctioneers, auction firms always work, well, most of the time work with brokers, and you heard Lonnie Buckner from the State Brokers of Florida today saying how we worked together on a $65 million sale. And again, this is very important for us, the American taxpayer. When there is a property that is not being used, it hurts the area. There is no taxes coming in for the municipality. When it's just like in your neighborhood, when there's a property in your neighborhood that is foreclosed upon, isn't being maintained, you get some vandalism, the pool is green, the grass is high, that affects prices in the entire area, the entire neighborhood. Well, it's the same thing with government surplus properties, and again, these aren't homes, but these are warehouses, these are office buildings, these are land parcels that are not being used. But if no one is taking care of them, then the neighbor's values are hurt. Now, let's say that we sell it. We sell that property, and let's just pick one property out of these 14,000, and it's a property and it sells for $1 million that goes into the coffers of the treasury so we can help balance the budget. That's a good thing. If it saves money on all of the costs that we as taxpayers unknowingly keep on paying year and year for unused properties, that's a good thing. Helps the budget, but also makes common sense. Listen, want your call-ins? The number is 904-797-1919. We're kind of wrapping up, but would love more calls. We have heard from Lonnie Buckner from Estate Brokers of Florida. I want to talk again about what I feel is the way to go on these government surplus properties. Number one, auctions equal fairness and transparency. It must be an impossible job if it was you or me and you were in charge of this post office, let's say, being for sale. Well, people would try to buy the post office, and one would say, okay, I'll give you, I'm going to pick a number, I'll give you $50 million with $1 million down, and we need 6 months to do our due diligence. Well, then somebody else says, well, I'll give you $60 million, but you need to give me financing. Another person will say, well, here's $55 million, but of different term. Do you understand? It's very difficult because it's not apples to apples, it's apples to oranges. An auction puts everybody on the same playing field, so everybody bids on the same terms, the same deposit, the same closing time. The difference in a auction scenario is the due diligence needs to be done beforehand, not afterwards. So you're bidding on the property, having done your due diligence and looking at it, because in regular commercial real estate, what happens is a person would put an offer in and say, we need to do due diligence for 3 months to think of the offer of $50 million is right. Well, they spend 3 months, and what happens? Of course, they say, well, there's some environmental concerns. Well, there's some structural concerns. The economy has gone down in the last 3 months, and so our $50 million bid is no longer valid, but we will pay $40 million. Well, the seller has already lost 3 months worth of time. And so, what's his option? Okay, to take the $40 million, to have lost the 3 months. What does he do, or what does she do? And so this is why the government needs to auction properties. Everybody is on the same frame of deposits, of closing time, of information, because the auction company puts it out as they receive it. Some more good points is that it's good for real estate brokers because they're going to get commissions. They bring buyers, the auction firm and the seller pay those brokers to bring buyers in through commissions and referrals. It's good for the investors because when they buy these properties, they're going to fix the property up. They're going to hire new people. They're going to pay for goods and services. This is a wonderful thing. We've got another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Dennison. Tommy Rowell Auctions. How are you this morning?
Well, thank you, sir, for calling in. We're talking about the HR 1734. Again, Tommy Rowell, CEO of Rowell Auctions. Really appreciate you calling in. You and I were up in Washington, D.C., trying to make a point that government surplus properties need to be sold, and they need to be sold quickly, and they need to be sold at auction. Can you kind of paraphrase what we did up there?
Absolutely, Doug. We visited with the Congressional Budget Office with various congressmen in promoting the bill to sell these surplus properties. These properties are costing Americans billions of dollars each day or each year, and Doug, these properties need to be sold. They're not being used. We have post offices, for example, that have not been used for over 10 years that are and one in particular that's costing $6 million a year to upkeep. So from that standpoint, we really need to tighten our belts in America. We need to sell these properties, and the best and the most efficient way to sell them is to sell them at auction. And while we were there, we also visited with the GSA in regard to the sales process and discussing with them that the public auction is the best way to sell these properties to net the most dollars to the taxpayers. And so we're really excited about the HR 1734, 1746, and we hope that our congressmen and senators will move expeditiously on this bill and get it passed, and for the President Obama sign it. There is bipartisan support for this bill, so there's a good opportunity that we may tighten the belts in America.
Well, it's a good thing for the taxpayer, and if you as a business person had a property down the road that you have no use for, you haven't used for several years, I mean, it's just common sense that you're going to sell that property rather than pay for all the cost to maintain each year. Isn't that just common sense?
Yes, that's just basic common sense. And when our taxpayers are having to take our hard-earned tax dollars to support surplus properties that are not being utilized, it's not fair to the taxpayers.
It is not, and thank you so much for taking that trip to Washington, D.C. with me. We really learned a lot and was very, very impressed with the people up there. They're doing hard work, and it's not an easy job, is it?
No, that's a difficult job, and there are a lot of factions that influence our legislation in today's world, and moving through the process is difficult.
Well, we actually had a chance to sit down with Congressman Billy Long, who was a former auctioneer, and that was just a fun thing to do, and he's a first-term congressperson, and just learning what he had to learn kind of was amazing. Tell us about Rowell Auctions. We've got about a minute left. Are there any upcoming auctions that we should be talking about?
Doug, yes, we do. This Saturday we've got a farm sale, 464-acre Black Angus cattle farm, a working farm. We're going to be selling the land, the homes, buildings, equipment, and the cattle all this Saturday. Then we've got a beautiful, beautiful home down in Inglewood, Florida, on the Intercoastal Waterway. Brand new home, 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, pool, jacuzzi, with all the upgrades. Absolutely beautiful. And then we've got 250 assets that are bank-owned assets selling out at absolute auction in Georgia, Florida, and Alabama.
Wow. How do people go to find out? It's RALauctions.com, and the 800 number is what?
800-323-8388.
Perfect. Hey, Tommy, thank you so much for the call, and we will be back next week.